All right, man, peace. So, brothers, Kyrie Irving, currently the star point guard of the Boston Celtics, at least for now, has decided that he's going to come out and declare that he's an actual genius at the game of basketball. Why he's doing that, who knows? Maybe it's because he actually believes it, or maybe it's because he wants other people to believe it. Either way, I don't think that it's particularly a good sign that Kyrie Irving is saying this, because I think that this might alienate his teammates. It could also make his coach feel very uncomfortable in advising him when it comes to strategies on the game or on the basketball floor. And I think that it's another sign that maybe Kyrie is not quite where he should be mentally when it comes to his focus on the court. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Quote, I'm an actual genius at this game. Said Kyrie Irving get him Jackie McMullen piece. What did you make of Kyrie's proclamation? Go ahead.
I think that this is another manifestation of Kyrie trying to inject himself into the same realm of a LeBron James, a Kobe Bryant, or at least formerly Kobe Bryant, a Kevin Durant, so on and so forth. Kyrie wants himself to be put forth on that sphere or in that sphere of relevance when it comes to the game of basketball, and he's not. And I love Kyrie. I think that he's a phenomenal player. He's very fun to watch, but he's not as good as Steph Curry. And right now, there is a debate between himself and Dame Lillard. I would take him over Dame when it comes to skill set, but when it comes to the mental approach and his composure on and off the court, it's Dame all day. And what Kyrie needs to really focus on is making sure that he's able to show and prove what he can do on the court as opposed to talking about it. We've already seen him very desperately try to compel his teammates to look at him like a LeBron James by trying to manipulate the situation pertaining to the relationship between him and LeBron. He called up LeBron and claimed to apologize for his immaturity when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he thereafter tried to juxtapose what he did with LeBron to what his teammates should do with him, and that, of course, was a terrible tactic. And now he's coming out claiming to be a genius on the basketball floor. When I think of genius basketball players, I think of Magic Johnson, I think of Larry Bird, I think of Isaiah Thomas. Later on, of course, the great Michael Jordan. I also think of Steve Nash, who was a basketball genius as well. But you also have basketball geniuses who have so many foibles or such an Achilles heel that sometimes it nullifies their genius. Like Chris Paul is a basketball genius, but because of the anxiety issues that he has on the floor, that tends to nullify whatever genius aspect he brings to the game. Kyrie Irving, I think, has some insecurity issues that might nullify his genius aspect, and he might want to watch that because he's 26 going on 27 years old. I would say that he's in the midst of his prime. I would not say that he's at the beginning of his prime because I think that he's a player who tends to be a bit injury prone, and I'm not quite sure if he's going to age well. He just might want to pump his brakes a bit and make sure that he's built up enough of a resume to start talking about how much of a genius he is. Because once again, when I think genius, I think leader. I think someone who's able to commandeer the team, commandeer the offense, and that the other players are going to respect. And I'm not quite sure if that's him quite yet.
Thank you. This is not a thing that an actual genius would say, I think.
Agreed.
Hey, I think. You don't say if you're a genius, I'm an actual genius. But Kyrie Irving, in this case, is kind of a ball-handling genius. He's kind of a scoring genius. And he seems to be a guy, most importantly, who's getting along with his teammates a lot better, right? And that seems to be why he's now saying these things from a place of harmony as opposed to discord.
Now, I honestly think that Kyrie Irving takes himself a bit too seriously. That's what I see from him. I think he takes himself a bit too seriously and does not understand that he's an entertainer. He's not someone who's going to change the world with his basketball skills. He's an entertainer. Let's approach it from there, and then I think that there'll be a trickle-down effect in how he's perceived, because I do think that he cares how he's perceived.
I'm not sure which person at this table has the right to judge someone for telling other people how smart they are. Maybe, just maybe, this is not the thing that either of us can approach with the proper level of self-awareness.
Touché.
That being said, I'm glad he said at this game. I'm very glad that he specified at this game. Because if he had just said I'm a genius, you know what I'm saying back? Tell me about the flat world, brother. Tell me more about the...
Please don't start that. Please don't start the flat earth shit.
About the earth being flat, right? But as for basketball, if he says so, I mean, he's a lot smarter when it comes to basketball as far as I'm concerned. Now, he certainly demonstrates some quality.
Well, of course, Kyrie Irving is smarter. His basketball IQ is higher than the layman. But if we're going to evaluate genius on the basketball floor, we have to set a standard that's higher than the average person. We have to set the standard at previous basketball geniuses, and I'm not quite sure if Kyrie measures up to that.
Some qualities that make him seem like a savant. The tricky thing with calling him a genius is he's a guy who has the ball all the time, and none of us really think of him as somebody that just runs the offense magnificently in the way that we typically think of basketball genius.
Agreed, and that's part of the issue with Kyrie. It's not that he can't do that, it's that he seems like he's unwilling to do that. He's come off to me as a player who has been unwilling to make sure that he puts his teammates' welfare on the basketball floor before his own. With all the power that he has as the point guard to control the basketball, control the offense, there were points over the course of this past basketball season where he clearly seemed to be more concerned with getting his own shot off than it was empowering his teammates. And that to me is not indicative of a basketball genius.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't say he's offensively a genius. He is very, very virtuoso-esque at certain skills, but the real story with Kyrie, according to that story by Jackie Mack, is that he got off social media. He got off of it, and he admits that that was a thing that was really messing with his head.
Yeah, he was stuck in that social media rabbit hole, that vortex.
And when it messed with his head, it messed with his mood in the locker room, which messed with how he addressed the younger.
One of the first keys to success is understanding how little other people actually matter. I mean, social media has created this false world where people who dive and immerse themselves into that realm start to believe that people that they don't even know actually matter, and they don't.
Their teammates. Jaylen Brown in this story was very clear saying, I didn't object to the criticism from Kyrie. I object how he kept on piling on the younger guys, him and Terry Rozier, whose futures are not nearly as secured as the guy with, the max contract sort of skill set.
Well, I've been on record numerous times as asserting that it's very clear to me that Jaylen Brown is someone who's not going to tolerate Kyrie Irving's bullshit.
And good for them that they seem to figure it out. And if this is really what it is, because you think about this, right? Like, they don't have Marcus Smart right now, which is a big thing for this team. As well as they're playing, it speaks to a lot of the role that happiness can play in the workplace.
Totally agree. But anyway, peace.